Do me a favor. Like, let's just start off. I want to do this Dancing with the Stars style. Give me a rating last night. How did it look? I've been going 9.5s every night. Wesley, give me a rating for last night.
I'll give it a 9.5. I mean, I'm here in Milwaukee. The arena was electric. I mean, it is just insane. It's like a rock concert. I've been to conventions in the past. This is just so positive, so patriotic. People are freaking stoked, man. So I give it a very high 9.5.
9.5. All right. Seth Denson, I was talking to Lindsay Keith yesterday. She said kind of what Wesley said, that electric, unified last night in Milwaukee. Give me a score on this.
Yeah, I thought I could feel, again, here in Dallas, I felt the electricity coming through the television. I thought the content was great. I'm going to go with a 9 as opposed to a 9.5, only because I thought that a couple of the speakers, one particularly fell flat for me on the messaging, and that was Don Jr. But outside of that, I thought it was a 10. And not that he wasn't great, but I think he was predictable.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to I'll let you settle that with Don.
I love you, Don. I'm just saying. I knew what you were going to say before you say it.
No, I'll get to that in a second. Sara Gonzales, give me a score. What did you think about last night?
Yeah, I'll give it a 9, only because I want to leave that extra wiggle room to hopefully say a 10 after Donald Trump takes the stage. Yes, so
that's the right answer on that. I feel like McLaughlin, the right answer, 9.5, wiggle room for Trump. I thought, Seth Denson, you brought up Don. I thought bringing Kai out there, actually, she won the night for me, showed up, Don. It was such a cool moment and another unexpected twist.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kai Madison Trump. I am the granddaughter of Donald Trump. I'm speaking today to share the side of my grandpa that people don't often see. To me, he's just a normal grandpa. He gives us candy and soda when our parents aren't looking. He always wants to know how we're doing in school. When I made the high honor roll, he printed it out to show his friends how proud he was of me. A lot of people have put my grandpa through hell, and he's still standing. Grandpa, you are such an inspiration, and I love you.
I think for me as a dad, Sean, again, and this is not a personal statement. I thought Don Jr. was great. It was the same speech I've heard him give a dozen times. It was, listen, I wanted there to be more proud of my daughter. He did a good job, but man, when my kid hopefully gets up there to introduce me someday, I'm crying. But I'm a crier, so I mean, I guess maybe that's just me. I thought he didn't spend enough time leaning in. She is a future, man. I thought she was brilliant, especially her first time on that stage, and to be on that stage, she stole the show.
Wesley, what stole the show for you last night?
Like JD stole it for me. Not to get too personal, but I hear a lot of politicians and they might intellectually understand like my background and the way I came up, but my background was very similar to JD Vance's. My dad died because of his meth addiction. My mom died of a fentanyl overdose. If you were to take Hillbilly Elegy and put it in Section 8 housing, it would be my biography. So for years, I've always said that JD Vance just connects to me on a personal level that no other politician does. So hearing his story, seeing his mom, I want to cry now just thinking about it because I'm a crier too. But, and people chanting for his mom.
Our movement is about single moms like mine who struggled with money and addiction but never gave up. And I'm proud to say that tonight my mom is here, 10 years clean and sober. I love you, Mom.
It hit me extremely, extremely hard. And I got very emotional in a way that I don't typically get emotional during political speeches. So it was strong, very strong for me.
It's funny. I mean, you think about it, it's the guys that get emotional. I mean, Sara, I want to get your take on this, but it's funny. I mean, you hear these guys that are getting emotional about speeches. That tells you something about the impact that the program has had. And I will give the RNC / the campaign / Donald Trump a ton of credit for the lineup because it has hit people in different ways. And I think to Wesley's point, the thing about JD Vance is he's walked the walk. I mean, this isn't a politician who gets up there and says, I support these policies because they're going to make America great again and blah, blah, blah. He says, I know it. I lived it. And I think that resonates with so many Americans. He doesn't talk about the forgotten men and women. That's him. To Wesley's point, Sarah, what stood out to you last night?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick just one moment because, as you mentioned, they just had such a fantastic lineup of people. They're hitting all the right points. I thought that Kai Trump obviously was a very high point of the night. And I thought that I'm going to disagree a little bit on Don Jr. I thought that the messaging just hit differently, knowing that he just had to go through what he went through with his father over the weekend. And so I give him a lot of credit. Obviously, I give Kai a lot of credit. I thought that it was the right move to lean into. This is my grandfather. This is someone's grandfather. This is someone's father. This is a real person, because the left gets into all of this rhetoric all the time about how he's a Nazi and he's this, he's literally Hitler, he's this, he's that. And it's really refreshing to hear, Donald Trump is just a regular grandfather and he's a good guy. And so, but I will say, I did think JD Vance won the night. But, you had veterans, they just hit all of the right points. JD Vance, obviously, you can't top his personal story. And so I think that won the night for me, but I was really excited. I think for the first time in a very long time, I was very excited to hear from a vice presidential candidate. I can't remember the last time I was excited to hear from them.
Sean, let me make one other comment because I think the only other reason I'm giving it a 9 as opposed to 9.5, it wasn't about content, it was about timing. I thought that there was a miss, and I don't know that they could have changed it. The Gold Star families for me, there was not a dry eye in my house.
Can we pause for a second? I just want to show the audience. I think most people saw this, but let's just play a clip of what you're talking about because it wasn't just Gold Star families. Check this out.
While Joe Biden has refused to recognize their sacrifice, Donald Trump spent 6 hours in Bedminster with us. Donald Trump knew all of our children's names. He knew their stories, and he spoke to us in a way that made us feel understood, like he knew our kids. Donald Trump carried the weight for a few hours with me.
Nicole G. Taylor Hoover. Ryan C. Knaus.
Do you hear that though? That's when I thought you knew that you struck a chord when the crowd starts saying the name back, Seth. I was like, you've struck a chord and touched someone's heart when they're viscerally reacting to this and the crowd saying the name back was so impactful last night. I agree with Sarah that I was like, what touched me the most, but it was sort of like bam, 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 bam. Wow, 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 wow. I interrupted you. Keep going with your train of thought on that.
I was saying the power of the video that they did on the front end of those people telling their story and the time that President Trump spent with them. And then the one where I think it was the mother-in-law of one of the young soldiers that was killed said that he carried the weight for us in 6-hour meeting that he had with us, and effectively was there for us when Joe Biden looked like he just wanted to look at his watch and get out of there in his meeting. To me, that was the message. And here's where I was saying there was a miss, because that wasn't a miss. It was too early. And I was also jockeying back and forth on the different networks, who was carrying what, who was speaking over it, as opposed to letting it play out. And I don't think that ABC or CBS were even televising at that point, because they only have to cover an hour, and they covered the last hour. And so if there was a tweak, I wish all of America would have seen that. All of America needed to see that part.
Yeah, Wesley, you really, this is your world, right? From telling candidates if you had scripted it, what would you have changed anything?
I agree. It would have been nice for all of America to see it, but America needed to meet JD Vance and see JD Vance. So I probably wouldn't have changed the timing. But like, it wasn't just last night. You know, the night before too. The way they're rolling out real Americans with real stories. I mean, like we're as humans, we listen and we're moved by real stories from real people, right? And it wasn't just rolling out celebrities and politicians. It was real people with real impactful, very emotional stories, like, you know, the mom who lost her son to fentanyl the night before. And I think this lineup has been just perfect. It's absolutely perfect the way they've done that.
I can't tell people enough, having been there in 2016, somebody said to me this morning, wow, the RNC's done a great job. And I will give them that. I know the producer of this, Phil Alonji, some of us have probably come across him before. Very well produced. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you this right now, having done this in 2016, Donald Trump's hand is everywhere in this program. This is not a guy who sat back and said, I told this story to someone before, when Phil Alonji, and he hates that I'm bringing up his name, I'm sure, brought Donald Trump the rendering of the stage. Literally, it's a model, right? It's like an architect goes to their client and says, this is what the building's going to look like. Trump sat there and was like, nope, move that here, change the lighting here, pull that out there. I want more blue. That's right. And Alonji calls me afterwards. He's been doing this forever. And he goes, you are not going to believe the meeting I just had. Normally, I walk in and they're like, wow, great job. Thanks. And it's like an 8-second meeting. Trump sat there and tweaked every aspect of the stage, was like, I want you to move this here, bring that in there. And Phil has been, like I said, not just these events. He's a big event kind of guy. He did the Pope's visit, right? And he was like, I've never seen anything like this in terms of the level of detail and interest. So, Sara, tonight is Donald Trump's night. He will be on that stage, which I'm sure he has tweaked and looked at. What do you, like the media is going all sorts of nuts about unity and Trump's going to do this. What do you want to hear from him tonight?
I mean, I think that it would be nice to hear, I guess, some sort of unity, but not so much that we're going to cower and take the. I mean, you hear the left even today still with the rhetoric that I would argue inspired, you know, what happened over the weekend. So I want unity within the party, but I don't necessarily want it to be we're going to capitulate and cower to the left. Because
go ahead. I'm glad you put that way, Sara, because I'm like, unity doesn't mean we capitulate while you guys, it's like not unilateral disarming here. They started this. They turned the temperature up. We don't have to be complete jerks, but they're the ones who tried to take out our candidate. Right. Actually, that's not fair. Hold it, just for the tape. For everyone, I'm not saying that was not appropriate. But what I am saying is that this is where they're looking at this attempt and that's a true threat to democracy. And they're talking about his words instead of focusing on the fact that like this violence is the real threat to democracy. It's not that they did it, but I kind of look at like this idea that we need to now take down the temperature that they brought up. And I'm glad that you're pointing that out because this doesn't mean capitulation.
Right, exactly. And I mean, I just want to like step back for a second and think about how different their convention is going to look, right? Like, who are they going to bring up on stage? What stories are they going to be able to tell? They're going to be talking about, you know, trans children who are able to go to California and get their body parts chopped off, and how people can travel to, you know, New York to go get an abortion up until the point of birth. It's just the stark contrast that you have to imagine there's going to be in what they can tout, and our candidate coming up on stage and talking about how he just got shot is just, it's just going to be incredible.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.